Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are listening to the most electrifying podcast in all of internet radio today. You are listening to the Sportswire. My name is Vinny Absella. I am here with you today. It is currently 4:22 a.m. on Thursday, the 26th of March, 2020, and the world is still under social isolation policies. All right, so obviously I'm not about to, number one, I'm not looking for, nor would I report any spoilers for WrestleMania, because they did tape WrestleMania over the past, I think, 2 days. I'm not looking for spoilers. I'm not looking for anything. I just want to enjoy it as a fan. Yeah, it's going to suck with no people going over 2 nights, and it's going to be different. But like I said, I applaud the WWE, and for going on with it to provide entertainment for the fans. I do want to report, I did watch, and I'm sure a lot of you've already seen it as well, the new Jumanji movie that just recently was released on Blu-ray. That came out earlier this year, like late last year, with The Rock. Good movie. Had a lot of twists, a lot of turns, a lot of, unexpected moments, but at the same time, there was also a great deal of a huge cast. I mean, besides the main 4 characters, you had The Rock returning, Dwayne Johnson, Kevin Hart, as well as Karen Gillan and Jack Black. They all return and reprise the roles, as well as Kevin Jonas, one of the Jonas brothers. But you also had, and then the 4 characters, or 5 characters, in the outside world that played their real world counterparts. But you also had, adding to the cast, Danny DeVito and Danny Glover. Those 2 were hilarious in their roles. And you also had Aquafina, Chinese or Asian rapper, I guess. She joined the cast as well. It was a great movie. It really was. I highly recommend it. It had the same kind of messages as the first one, working as a team and, figuring out how to use your strengths and weaknesses and everything. And it was good. It was good. Also had a kind of a sad ending. A sad part to it. I'm not going to do any spoilers or anything because that's not what I'm in the business of doing. Well, as you know, sports have been put on pause. The only thing that's really going on right now is, the NFL offseason. They're still doing trades. They're still doing all their stuff. But for the most part, everything has been shut down. The Chinese virus, the coronavirus, COVID-19, whatever you want to call it, it has literally brought the entire world to a stop. New Japan Pro Wrestling, even in Japan, they've canceled all their shows for a while. Everything in, Korea, and it's like, and now Korea wants anybody coming over from the U.S. to be quarantined for 14 days. Like, well, it makes no sense because if you're going there for 3 days, like, what's the point, if you have business or whatever. But I would assume that all travel between these countries, most international travel has been shuttered for the most part, due to this virus, this fear, this concern. Prince Charles actually contracted the disease. He's in quarantine. Supposedly Rey Mysterio and Dana Brooke have also contracted, or at least have come into contact with the disease. So they're in isolation, quarantine. They will not be at WrestleMania, which is why they put on the Andrade and Angel Garza to take on the Street Profits for the tag team titles, and Dana Brooke was removed from the six-pack women's SmackDown Women's Championship, which sucks because she's, out of all the women in that match, she's the one that needed the push. But obviously her health and the health of the rest of the WWE superstars are more important. So with that said, I just want to say that this is the one thing that this virus is teaching us is everybody's the same. Everybody's made the same. And one thing I want to take a look at, and I know a lot of people are going to say, "Oh, this is not a Bible, a Bible based thing, you know, Bible based show," and a lot of people aren't Christian all the time. But I just want to see something. I know in Isaiah, in the book of Isaiah, let's say, I just saw this not too long ago. I gotta find it. I know it was on Instagram. I think that I saw it. I really do think it was in Isaiah. But either way, social isolation and is in the Bible, And um, if that's not proof that the Bible is timeless, I don't know what is. I really don't. Um, well, it looks like Nyla Rose was not on Dynamite tonight. Um, I can't remember. Was it Babylon Bee? I want to say. I want to. It was a few days ago some of the things on Instagram that I follow is like the Babylon Bee. It's a parody. It's a parody account. Um, but I can't remember exactly where I saw it. But either way, I will have to find it because that's actually going to be my communion message for this Sunday with my church. But anyways, I do want to say that it is in the Bible, social isolation and stuff in terms of to stay healthy. Um, I just recommend everybody go on and do that. I am looking for people who either co-host or come on the show as guests. I've been posting on Twitter. Nobody's taken a bite yet. Um, I want to see how y'all. I want to see some feedback about my thesis or theory of Chris Benoit and what I had said on yesterday's show, yesterday's podcast about the possibility that somebody else killed Nancy and Daniel, and then when Chris got home and found it, he killed himself. I don't, like I said, the evidence all points to Chris doing double murder, suicide, and that's probably the most likely scenario. I mean, look at what his brain was. He had the brain of a 90-year-old person, with dementia, with advanced dementia, and he was just not in his right mind. I'm not going to say that it's easy to forgive because of that, but it's easy to understand. And the sad part is David Benoit and Nancy's sister that, they they hadn't seen each other for 13 years before this, before Dark Side of the Ring brought them together. And that's the saddest part in it. And the families kept saying, "Oh, no, nobody, they don't want you, they don't want to have anything to do with you." And that's hard for a kid. You know what I mean? I know David's mother was, Chris's ex-wife, but still, it's like they were all family. And it's hard when stuff like that happens. I think that was the saddest part of the episode. I highly recommend it if you haven't watched it. It's Dark Side of the Ring on Vice. You could catch it on demand. It's a 2-part episode. Hour 1 was released on YouTube a couple days ago, and then hour 2 was actually with the full episode yesterday on Vice, and I highly, highly, highly recommend it. The next episode next week is New Jack, and that's going to be an interesting one. I'm sure they're going to touch on the mass transit incident, but New Jack himself has a very checkered past and checkered career. He really lived his gimmick, let me put it that way, from what I've heard. And I don't know the whole story, so I'm going to definitely be watching that next week. I highly recommend all of you to take this virus seriously. It is, it's showing that we're not divided in anything. We're all the same. We're all human. We're all susceptible to this. Nobody has an immunity to it. I don't even think people that get the antibodies to get an immunity to it. So I really feel like this is showing us that everybody's created equal. I mean, think about it, from media personnel to sports stars to actors to royalty, and then regular schmucks like you and I. Everybody's susceptible to it. Every walk of life has contracted the COVID-19. And nobody is immune to it. So keep that in mind when the next time you want to go off on a racist tirade, or if you want to go off on a sexist or whatever, some kind of prejudicial tirade. We're all created equal, and we're all in this together. And it's going to take all of us to beat this. So, I mean, that's my plea to everybody. Yes, this show is a bunch of disjointed topics, but the one thing we have in common, the one thing that I will say that is a common thread through this show, is the idea that we're all together. The coronavirus has touched and affected absolutely every walk of life, every part of everyday life for everybody. Whether it's whether it's losing your job, being put on temporary leave, getting your hours cut, having to stay home. You can't even go to a restaurant, to sit and eat. No, the buffets are closed. I mean, it's like you don't want to. There's two ways you can look at this. This virus will either A, cause us to unite and realize we're all one, or B, drive a deeper wedge between everybody because you don't trust where everybody's germs are. So, but I hope it's the first and not the latter. I mean, as of right now, yes, when you come into contact with people, you wash your hands, you use your hand sanitizer, you Lysol everything. But when it comes to actually being, human, helping people, the Trump administration and this Congress and this coronavirus bill that finally passed the Senate, going to the House and will pass, and Trump will sign it, is good for everyone. It even has a provision in there for subcontractors or independent contractors that are out of work. So it'll help, it'll help the indie wrestlers who are out of work. It's going to help people with unemployment. It's going to help all Americans. Every American is getting $1,200 at least. So just be thankful. Be thankful we have a president who cares about the country and cares about, the United States of America, the citizens. Be thankful that we don't have, going through the process of getting this bill passed, the Democrats had to sneak stuff in there that had nothing to do with the coronavirus. Like to give $500 million to Planned Parenthood. No. You don't need to do that. To put in a special provision, putting a gauge on the emissions of airplanes. Like, what? That has nothing to do with the coronavirus. So, yeah. Thank God we have a president who actually is on our side, and it's the Democrats that really got in the way of this because it could have been passed already. But I digress. Thank you all for listening. You can find the Sportswire on Anchor, anchor.fm. That's where we host. To reach that page, you go to www.sportswireaudio.com. You can follow me on Twitter at @theapicella SWE. Go ahead and go on and follow the Sportswire on Instagram and Twitter at Sportswire Audio on both platforms. And then find the Sportswire wherever you may find your favorite podcasts. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, TuneIn, Radio Public, and so on and so forth. There's like 10 or 12 different places where the Sportswire is distributed to. So wherever it may be, listen up, give us a 5-star review, send us some feedback, email sportswireaudio@gmail.com, and thank you for listening. My name is Vinny Absella. I will be back tomorrow with more of the Sportswire.